Hello and welcome back to World Talks. I'm Anna Kalczyńska. Following the high-profile meeting between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelenskyy at the Vatican, questions are intensifying over the future of Ukraine's existential fight for survival. As the US political dynamics shift, many are asking whether Ukraine can sustain its defense with or without backing of Donald Trump-led America. Joining us now to unpack the latest developments and what they mean for Ukraine's future on the battlefield and beyond is Rostyslav Khotin, senior Ukraine editor, Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. Good morning, sir. Good to have you.
Hello. Good morning.
So how significant do you think this meeting between Zelenskyy and Trump in the Vatican was yesterday?
It was very significant, although the meeting lasted only 15 minutes. It's quite a long time, taking into account that all world leaders came to the funeral of the late Pope Francis. But this meeting was hailed by President Zelenskyy already as historical meeting, and the White House immediately said that the meeting was important and constructive. It also was important. Why it was important? It was the first eye-to-eye contact between President Trump and President Zelenskyy after this kind of brawl, the intense conversation in the White House, in the Oval Office of the White House, on the 28th of February. So they needed to kind of make a new contact, normal contact, and also I think that there was no breakthrough after this meeting, but it was nevertheless extremely important to reestablish the personal one-to-one contact between two leaders, and also probably President Zelenskyy gave some information, the kind of brief analysis about the latest developments in Ukraine, especially that Russia in the last several weeks has been brutally, harshly targeting, bombarding Ukrainian cities with dozens and dozens of victims, of people killed. I could remind you about Kryvyi Rih, then Sumy, then Marganets in Dnipropetrovsk region in eastern Ukraine, then Kyiv a few days ago this week. So President Zelenskyy briefed President Trump about these horrible acts of bombardments of Ukrainian cities. And after this, President Trump, even on his social network, Truth Social, said that Putin might be deceiving, might be playing games with me, and threatened to even more sanctions against Russia.
Exactly. So do you believe that this encounter could mark a turning point to end the war in Ukraine?
Yeah,
you said yourself it was a historical breakthrough, perhaps.
That's how President Zelenskyy. That's how Zelenskyy put it, historical meeting. Yeah, but you know, the very surrounding, you know, the St. Peter's Cathedral, Basilica in the Vatican, the solemn event, the kind of funeral of the late Pope, the surrounding of the, you know, these icons and frescoes around. I think the environment for this meeting was quite historical, unprecedented. That's true, and also it's important that President of France, Emmanuel Macron, and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer briefly joined Zelenskyy and Trump for this meeting. They met four of them. It's extremely important because now it seems that in peace talks, peace negotiations, and the approach to peace deal, there are two camps. In one camp, the United States of America, which is leaning rather towards Russia, and Ukraine and Europeans. That's why these meetings with Macron and Starmer were important, and Zelenskyy also had bilateral with Keir Starmer, and also later with President Macron. So it's kind of Ukraine plus Europe vis-a-vis America, little plus Russia, because American position is taking into account Russian stance more broadly.
Yes, indeed. Looking at these pictures is something unbelievable. It's as if we were watching some kind of a political drama. But it's a reality. It's very important talks that are taking place as we speak. So how should we interpret right now Trump's position and Trump's wording, saying that Putin might not actually want to end the war? Do you think that he could have been convinced by Zelensky?
I think so, especially when Zelensky briefed him about the latest bombardments and so many people killed by Russian missiles and drones in Ukraine recently. And Russia targets, the very centers of the cities, the civilian areas of the cities, and also use special type of ammunition which is designed to kill as many as possible, the maximum number of civilians, of people. That's what type of ammunition, cluster ammunition was used in missiles and bombs. And that's why there's such a big number of casualties in Ukraine recently. And also, there are indications that American patience is running out. Several times, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, said that America might leave this peace process if there is no result quickly, sooner rather than later. So there are other, as he put it, we might move on, as he said. And also he said that there are other pressing issues for American diplomacy, meaning probably Iran, Middle East, China, and so on and so forth. Secondly, even Trump said that American patience is running out. We need this peace deal quickly. But the thing is, how to achieve it, because there is understanding that there should be ceasefire first, and then proper negotiations about lasting peace and just peace will start. So now the starter for this ceasefire is the current line of contact, the current front line, but it doesn't mean that it will stay forever there. Ukraine doesn't want frozen conflict. Ukraine wants, and Western partners want to achieve peace deal, ceasefire fast, and then proper negotiation about lasting peace deal later will start. So if Ukraine, the front lines in Ukraine will be kind of taken into account, that doesn't mean that they will stay forever there.
How to achieve peace, how to influence Russia? Well, that's all about the leverage right now, I imagine. So do you think Trump's idea of using banking or secondary sanctions could influence Russia's position?
Yes, Trump has a lot of so-called Trump cards, yes, in his hand. Banking sector, secondary sanctions, Russian oil shadow fleet. There are a lot of other leverages which America has against Russia. And I think that in their peace approach, Americans want even to, I think it's a mistake that when talking about peace deal, Americans also are ready to remove some sanctions from Russia imposed since 2014 when the annexation of Crimea started and occupation of eastern Ukraine, Donbas region. I mean, Americans are acting here, I think, too fast. It's too early to remove sanctions to avoid Russia. And in the Ukrainian peace plan, there are no words about sanctions removal or easing them. I think Americans, instead of now there is a kind of two tendencies. On one hand, Americans are ready to remove some sanctions from Russia. On the other hand, Trump threatens even harsher sanctions, more sanctions against Russian Federation if Putin will not accept the peace deal in Ukraine. And also one more thing important, that Trump thinks the time has come for Ukrainian-Russian talks. And there were indications from Moscow that Putin might be ready for talks with Ukraine. But with Russia, you never know. One day they are saying they are ready for peace, they are ready for talks. Another day they're bombarding Ukrainian cities and trying to take more settlements, occupied more settlements in eastern Ukraine. So you never know with Russia what their thinking really is.
Well, we are just seeing the pictures from Moscow and the arrival of Steve Witkoff for the talking with Vladimir Putin. So I wonder, because Donald Trump, on his way to Rome for the Pope's funeral, was saying on the board of Air Force One that he understands this meeting between Witkoff and Putin was a good one, and that it brought some progress. So what might Zelensky, what does the dynamic between Trump and Zelensky have changed to the extent that Trump has completely changed his understanding of the situation over a few hours?
I think that, the meeting between President Zelensky and President Trump occurred in the St. Peter's Cathedral, the holy Christian place, and the kind of Christian values of a new American conservative administration are important for President Trump. And when President Zelensky spoke possibly about these casualties, the mass killing of Ukrainians, slaughter of civilians by Russian missiles in the very centers of Ukrainian cities, which is against all Christian values, killing innocent people. I think that's what triggered President Trump. That's why he immediately posted on social media that Putin might be playing games and deceiving him, and that Trump is ready to impose even harsher sanctions against Russia. That the very surrounding, the very place that meeting was taking place, and the very Christian values of new American administration and Russian brutal behavior towards innocent people, killing innocent civilians, that's what triggered Trump's response. That might influence American approach to the peace deal now.
As one of the commentators said, God acts in mysterious ways. So let's just go back to the politics of Europe, because Europe somehow was sidelined during the last stage of these negotiations. How do you think this meeting could influence the broader international support and response to the war in Ukraine?
It's important already, the important fact that Europeans are taking part in these talks in Paris, in London. It's also strengthened Ukrainian position, because Ukrainians did want Europeans to play part in the talks, to be side of these talks, not to be left, one against two, Ukraine against America and Russia. So now it's kind of equal arithmetics of negotiations. Europeans see not eye in eye with America, eye to eye with Americans. They have different approach. For instance, Europeans are not ready to recognize the euro, the occupation, Russian control of Crimea, as Americans are ready. Europeans are not ready to recognize de facto Russian control of Donetsk, Luhansk, and parts of Zaporizhia and Kherson regions of Ukraine, which Americans are ready to do. Europeans are not ready to take a firm commitment that Ukraine will never join NATO, as Americans are ready to do. So Europeans are ready to fast-track Ukraine to EU, European Union membership. And there are other disagreements between American and European positions. And Europeans are leaning towards Ukraine, they support Ukraine, and even these peace proposals are joint European-Ukrainian, meaning Ukraine, France, and Britain have common position, while Americans are rather leaning towards Russia. But we don't know, with President Trump, he is unpredictable towards Putin. One day he is more pro-Russian, another day he is ready to strike even harsher with sanctions, so on and so forth. So
today we are on the banking and secondary sanctions level. And
yes.
Thank you so much, Rostyslav Khotin, senior Ukrainian editor, Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, was our guest this morning. Thank you so much for joining TVP World.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching World Talks. I'm Anna Kalczyńska. Stay tuned to TVP for more.